Hi everyone, my name is Brolin. I'm a certified public accountant, a certified fraud examiner, the president of Powerful Accounting Inc., and the author of the Designated Motivator for Accounting Professionals. I'm here today to talk to you about one of my favorite new application implementations, and that's with Liscio. We were finding that we were chasing clients and wasting a lot of administrative time chasing them for documents, for information, for answers to questions as we're going through tax season. And we found that we've really could be working a lot less hours if we could solve for that pain point. So we found Liscio, and because of implementing Liscio, we were able to save hours of time every single week chasing clients. Not only was it the time that we were spending, but it was the frustration of trying to get in touch with them and for them to securely send us documents and information so we could prepare their tax return in a timely fashion. No more picking up and putting down tax returns because we don't have everything we need. What I love is that it's one central place for us that all of us in our firm can see all of the communications, whether it's via text or email or a document that we're looking for. Anyone in the firm can go grab that document or that communication and know exactly what's going on with that client at all times. What's even better about it is that it does integrate with our project management and workflow solution, as well as our accounting software. So we're entering contact information for our clients in one place and pushing it out to the other solutions that we use. And I find that application integration is critical. But being able to save us that time so that I can be on the ball field coaching in the spring or whatever else it may be, being with my kids, whatever it may be. But we found that we were being so unproductive doing that administrative chasing that we were just like, it's not the client's fault. It's our fault. We have to offer them a solution that's going to work for them. And what we found with as we were implementing Liscio with our clients, the best feedback we would get, and this was almost every single client, was, wow, that was easy. And that's what we need it to be in order for our clients to be able to get us what we need, and it's got to be secure. We need cloud to cloud, secure document exchange, and secure communications. We no longer give out our personal cell phones, which is awesome. I don't want to hear from a client at midnight. If I happen to hear from them through my Liscio app, then that's cool. Maybe I respond, maybe I don't. But it gives me that flexibility and that time of peace and quiet when I'm not in the office. So I'm telling you, go out, get yourself a demo of Liscio, implement it for your business so you have a successful upcoming 2021, 2022, 2023, and beyond tax season. Thank you so much for listening, and I wish you the best as you move forward. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the DM Disruption. My name is Dawn Brolin. I'm a certified public accountant, a certified fraud examiner, and the author of the Designated Motivator, and also the author of the upcoming book, The Designated Motivator for Accounting Professionals. And what we do here on this podcast is we not just talk about motivation, we also take that motivation and put it into action, because you can listen all day long, but if you're not doing something about it, then I'm not doing my job. So we're here today with an awesome guy that I've just met, Arun Mathur. He's with UltimQuest. And we're going to have a great conversation about motivation. He's a former CPA, which is awesome. And he gives back to the community through education. So Arun, welcome to the DM Disruption. Thank you so much for coming. Tell us about Arun.
Thank you so much, Dawn. It's such a pleasure to meet with you. And I have watched a couple of your podcasts. Very excited to see what you're doing. So I have to start by saying I have not written a book. I'm not selling anything. However, I do have a pretty strong background as a CPA. I worked 10 years in the largest CPA firm in the country. And when I use the term country, I'm talking about Canada. So it's EY. Right. I worked in the Toronto office and the national office. Then I got into a commercial real estate stint where I did land rezoning, buying and selling commercial properties. So that was totally unrelated to the CPA career. Did that for a number of years. And then came back into the profession in a smaller firm, which is like a 3-partner firm. So I've seen like big business, I've seen small business, I've seen the owner-operated business, done a lot of consulting work for them, accounting work, that kind of thing. So my main focus in the last 10, 12 years has been on improving governance in all types of entities, sharing ideas through addressing CPAs across the country. And ethics is actually a core part of good governance. So those are the two areas that I'm specializing in when it comes to training. And, your book is about the designated motivator. The thing I learned in my life is our entire lives are about motivation, right? So I've
Hmm.
seen, like, for example, the ability to motivate a lender, the ability to motivate government, our coworkers, customers, suppliers, even we motivate our family and community. So this is sort of my life, and I'm at a tail end of my career, having done a number of different things. So currently, I'm focusing on developing younger CPAs, helping them with finding joy in their careers. That's what I'm all about.
And that's awesome, Arun. So, we talk a lot about, and we have for many years, and you've been involved for so long as well, is like this next generation, we really have to grab them, reach our hand out, pick them up, and bring them along for this, what can be a joyous and wonderful ride in the world of accounting. And, I love the fact that you've got experience at the big firms, right? Because that's a whole different ball game than a smaller firm of 4 to 10 to 15 staff members, and a smaller run firm where maybe there's a little bit more flexibility than you'll find in the bigger firms, but you've got that expertise. And so, tell me what, because obviously if you've been in the accounting industry so long, what just got you to this point where you're like, I want to help the industry. I'm ready to educate. Because, like me, I've been in this for over 20 years, and it's like we've kind of seen it all. We've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. So
Yeah,
what is
yeah.
it? Yeah, what is it that's motivating you to want to get out there and
So
educate this generation?
yeah, yeah. So there are a number of factors. Actually, some of the early indicators were when I was quite young. I actually took a course on public speaking when I was 21 years of age. It's pretty unusual. I don't know anybody else who did that. Um, and I am, as a personality, I guess I'm very bold. I'm very confident. I like to take risk. I like to try things. So, there are people that might say, I want a 9 to 5 job. I want a steady job. I want to do the same work every day and all that. I'm not that person at all, right?
Right.
So I've had this kind of idea of observing, watching, contributing, all of that through my whole life. And then when it comes to the CPA world, and actually the business world as well, uh, I observed some people are very happy, like they're doing good things, they enjoy their work. They go home all charged up and ready to come back and all that. And then we see the other side where people feel stuck. They might feel like, they want to do more. I've heard members say to me that, we'd like to be contributing to the community, doing something worthwhile.
Mhm.
So I see our members as being very intelligent, hardworking, ethical people.
Mhm.
And then I'm observing some that feel stuck, they feel frustrated. And having served on boards, having audited large firms, having worked in many, many smaller entities, you kind of gain some insights on how things work, what things will not work, all of that. So I think it all happened kind of naturally, right? Like
Mhm.
I love the idea of sharing, and this is what happens. I go across the country, someone tells me something, then I share that insight, and with the hope that we're sharing ideas that work, sharing methods, and sharing strategies that might have worked in one organization can also work in another organization.
Mhm.
But currently, I guess the big concern is disruption, automation. A number of members have said to me, will we have a job in the future?
Right.
What will that job be like? So there's a need to upskill, there's a need to retrain. And I think the whole profession, well, probably not only the profession, but the whole world is in that same state of disruption, right? Because of
Right.
technology and many other things like automation. And so, in the old days, you could say, okay, I want to become a CPA, this is what I'm going to do. But that this is now expanding significantly, right?
Yes,
So that
absolutely.
accounting, tax, and bookkeeping is not enough, right? Like we need to do much more.
Right. Well, yeah, because at the end of the day, we're the trusted advisors of the business clients. We know that, and individuals when you're dealing with taxes. But and I think it's a really good point. We've talked about how do we replace I'll say the older generation. I guess I have to include myself in on that since I'm over 50. I don't know, is that when AARP starts coming to your door and you know you're over 50, right? I haven't gotten mine yet. I'm waiting for somebody to go ahead and subscribe me to it because that's what I did to my husband because that's funny. And so, we as that older generation need to set the stage for this younger generation. And you're exactly right. It's the movement towards the automation, and that's here and has been here for
Yeah,
years, but
yeah,
even moving faster than we ever could imagine it's moving. And
sure.
so the younger generation wants that. They want that automation. They don't want redundancy. That's what I believe. And I have young generation employees here and staff members that I've worked with. They don't want to be here 9 to 5. They don't want to work the old-fashioned tax season of 80 hours. You got a badge for working 80 hours. Well, those badges are bad. They're actually not
No,
great anymore, right? So
exactly.
I think that what we can offer you through education, being able to help train, and I'll say, people like me are gonna be around for another 10 years, right? In the profession. Not like I won't be dead in 10 years, that's not what I mean. But but we're still gonna be here, right? And
Yes,
we've got
yes,
to get ourselves in a position to be able to bring them in, train them not on the old ways. And that's where the problem stands. I see people that are
right.
still, files and file cabinets everywhere. Like that's like last century. That's not even yesterday, right? That's just, you've got to figure. Here's one of the things, and Arun, I'd love to hear what you think about this: succession planning for smaller firms that are anywhere from sole proprietor, sole practitioner to 20, 30, 40, 50 staff members. And
Right.
being able to think of a succession plan where you need to have technology in place so that I can literally say, here's my login to Password Keeper. Everything you need to get into everything. This is how I do everything. Here's my app stack, and here's my diagram that shows how it all interconnects, that and then maybe some kind of a training program. But for those that are still sitting on paper, I think they're going to find that the value of their firm is going to be significantly less than somebody who has a pretty good
Oh,
handle on that technology,
for
right?
sure, for sure. And Don, this COVID experience we've had in the last 18 months is a perfect illustration of what you just said.
Yeah.
So companies, and not only our company, but any company that was in the old way, the paper way, and not digitized, like your work comes to an end, right? You can't meet the
Right.
client, the staff is not there, you can't do your work, right? So in the old
Yeah.
days, we were like that. We had files and papers, we would go to the client. So in
Right.
COVID, that's not possible, right? So
Hmm.
that's a really good example uh, of what happens if we don't adapt, right? Like
Right.
you're going to be in trouble, right?
Right. And that's the one who has that technology in place and is able to service clients anytime, anywhere, anyhow, used to be more of an efficiency conversation. And
Right.
for a good handful of years, I've been saying, okay, stop it with efficiency. Okay. Efficiency is great. How about profitability on top of efficiency, which is even much more fun, right? So that
Sure.
you're able to get, I mean, I know, all right, let's be honest here. Let's just be totally honest. We love our clients. Don't get me wrong. We love to hear the stories with the clients, but when we're preparing a tax return, I don't want to hear about any stories. I want to focus on the return. I said people would come in for an hour. Well, probably 35, 40 minutes of that was just talking, which is still great. And you can still do it, but go meet me. Let's go meet at a coffee shop when I
Sure.
can actually listen to you or whatever. I can listen to you and look at you in your face instead of this. Oh, that's
Right.
nice. Johnny had a game. That's awesome. Oh, how did he do? And you really never listen to what they're saying.
No, exactly.
And
Exactly.
so those people thrived, and you're right. And thankfully, I think some firms, like, I think it was a big realization for people, right? That, oh, I have to really have it together. But I want to shift this conversation just a little bit because I want to ask you, in your profession, you've been doing this for a long time. Was there somebody in your life that gave you the motivation it took to either become a chartered accountant, right? Because you're a CA in Canada, I think it is, right? You
That's
guys
right.
are.
Well, we were CAs, but about 7, 8 years ago, the entire profession merged. So we've now using a CPA, but it stands
Oh,
for
okay.
Chartered Professional Accountant, right?
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So through your career, you had to run into somebody who was like, wow, they really helped me out at a key spot or whatever. Tell me about that. I'm sure you've got somebody.
So that's a really good question. I mean, I had people at a university level, like professors, who
Mm,
shared their ideas with me and turned me towards what was practical and current. I've had a partner who One of the stories I have is I have like a rags to riches to rags to riches story, which is a little unusual. But
Yo-yos.
as part of that story, I have a friend who I've known since I was in high school. And when I was in this very, very dire situation, completely down and out, he approached me through my family and said, we have a job for you, come and work for us, and so on. So I would say that is the gentleman who I would answer your question with, someone that
Mm,
had confidence in my abilities, someone that was willing to help me at a time when I was absolutely, absolutely down and out. Right. So he's
yeah.
actually my current partner in the firm I'm with. It's a small
Oh,
firm.
great.
I'm 100% dedicated to working with him and helping him. And he's actually much more than a friend, much more than a very, very good professional. He's actually an excellent human being, cares
Oh.
about other people, that type of thing, right?
And who better to work with than somebody like that as opposed to somebody who's just mean, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
so,
No, no, I can
you
tell
know,
you. So, Don, I mean, over the 45 years that I've been working, I actually heard from one of my staff members when she came over and joined us. I asked her, what was your firm like and all that? And it was also a smaller firm.
mhm.
She told me that every single staff member left that firm, right? So it's like
Wow.
attrition down to non-existence, right? So that's how bad that owner was. They didn't take care of their people, they didn't care about their
Mhm.
people, and one by one every single team member left the team, right? So we've seen that as well.
And I think that that just goes back to the unfortunate world that we live in currently, where it's a lot about me, as opposed to us, and you, and us together and working together. And I like my whole passion is around just, I mean, changing the world is like kind of a big goal, I think. But you're right. I mean, people want to be around positive people. That's the whole concept of the designated motivator, is being able to reach and tie inside the soul of somebody and be selfless in a way that you actually give them that attention and that care and concern on a daily basis, and it's genuine, right? And so, just
Exactly.
treating one person a day
Yep.
in a nice way can, they pass it along. This is a simple example. So Saturday, I bought a boat finally. Been talking about buying a boat forever. Finally bought a boat. So we're going down to the boat on Saturday, and we stop at a grinder shop to grab some grinders to take on the boat. Great time. So we go in there, and there's three young boys. It got to be I'd say between 10 and 11 years old, in that range. And they came into the
Right.
pizza place, and they were picking up pizza. They're sweating. It was like really hot on Saturday, and they're like, ah. And so they come in, and they're all standing near the cooler. They're like, oh, I really love a Sprite right now, or a Coke, or whatever. And I'm listening to them. And I said to the lady, I go, hey, add 3 sodas I want to get these guys a drink. They're all drooling over the soda over. They're drenched. And these young boys, they're just like, wow, thank you, that was very nice. And I said, you know what, guys, all you know how you do, how you repay that, you go be nice to somebody else that maybe other people weren't so nice to today. And that's called passing it along, guys. And they were like, thank you. So, like, it was a soda, but to
No, that's
them
so
it was
nice.
like, right, that's the
Yep.
stuff that people say, well, I'm not like you, Brolin. I'm not crazy. And I don't, put on costumes and do
Yeah.
crazy stuff and use a bullhorn and yell and it's fun. I'm not like that. You know what? You can buy a soda for a kid who comes in who's sweating. And I said to them, I said, I'm just so glad to see you outside and not on a video game. And they
No,
were so,
that's such a nice story, Don, because your small act of kindness, which it's not a big deal,
mhm,
but this will make an impact on those three lives, right? Like those
right,
kids are going to go forward and say, wasn't that lady so nice to us? She didn't have to do it. And I
right.
think, the world is made a much better place with even a very small act of kindness, like listening to someone, talking to
Right.
someone,
Hmm.
expressing concern. You don't have to spend money and not too much time.
Right.
But the unfortunate thing is the media is full of bad news, right? The
Hmm.
media will never cover good news, right? So
Right.
we end up getting this impression that the world is a horrible place when really
Hmm.
it's not that bad, right? So
No.
when your little act of kindness, it comes in someone's life, it's like a
Right.
refreshing thing that someone did something selfless, right?
Right.
That's such a
Right.
nice example. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's great. And so, you know what? Let's shift this conversation because I know you have a child who's playing soccer from what you told me. So tell me a little
Yeah.
bit about that, what that's about.
So I have a son who now is about 22 years of age. When he was around 11, well, right from about 6 years of age, he played soccer every summer. And you know what a soccer team is like, what a soccer game is like.
Oh,
The
yes.
typical thing is like a parent is coaching because they want their kid to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always one or two hotshot players that are able to score. The other kids are like secondary. Their job is to pass the ball to the scorers,
Yes.
and then they
That's
score and they win, right? This is the
that's how you
typical
win.
soccer season, right?
Yeah.
Now what happened is one year we had an absolutely strange year. They formed a team, and then there was no coach, right? So
Okay.
I was concerned, my son was concerned, all the kids were concerned. Are we even going to play, or is this season going to be like something we have to sit aside and other teams will play? In the midst of that confusion, one of the parents, his name was John, he stepped forward and said, I will coach this team. And he only stepped forward because we were seeing that nobody would be playing, right? And that was his motivation. He
Sure.
had never coached soccer before, but he came in. Now John had a very, very different approach to coaching. I'll just give you a couple of examples. So, like during the weeknights, they would have a practice night. On the weekends, they would play. So during the practices, I noticed that John was getting the kids to do drills, right? So there were drills to pass the ball up the side. There were drills on how to pass the ball, how to throw the ball, how to take the corner kick, all of the mechanics of the game, right? So
Sure.
he was teaching the drills to every single kid, and I noticed that he wasn't focusing on his own son. Like he was giving the same training to every single
Yeah.
kid, right?
That's awesome.
This to me was a little bit unusual. And I'll tell you what happened in the game. So, you know, as you know, like whether it's baseball or soccer, like the parents are instructing the kids and telling them what to do.
Oh,
Like I know I
constantly.
would be, oh, we'd be like, we would be gasping because we're yelling, and not only yelling at our own kids what to do, but even the other kids because we know their names, right? So we're instructing them, go this way, pass to this guy, all of that. And we're thinking that the right person should take the corner kick and all this. Well, this coach John, he trained the kids in the practice, but in the game he just stood and watched the game. He didn't give any instructions. He didn't say who should do the corner kicks, who should do the throw in.
The kids knew.
And he stepped aside and just watched the game, right? So you might be wondering what was the outcome of that season, right?
Yes.
Now, let me tell you, this team had no hotshot players. This team won every single game in the season,
Wow.
every single game.
Undefeated.
Now, I'll tell you, like, basically, the kids were making their own decisions. The kids were not focused on scoring. They were focused on the passion they had for soccer. They liked working with each other. They had all been trained equally. There was no identification that this is the boss or this is the leader or this is the scorer.
I love
Everybody
that.
had equal chance, right? So, you know, I guess, if you focus on fun and the enjoyment, no matter what your activity is, versus focusing on a win, it's like in a corporation, you might say, we achieved the bottom line or whatever, but
Right.
then people could be miserable. On the other hand, you could say, okay, are we enjoying what we're doing? And
Right.
then the winning is a byproduct of that enjoyment, right?
I
So
love
to
that.
me, that whole experience was about motivation, about empowerment, about
Hmm.
building trust between the kids.
Yeah.
And the coach did all of this very silently, right? It was not obvious to me while it was happening. And he focused on skills development, right? So he built the skills of every single player, not just the
Hmm.
hotshot players. You could be playing defense, midfield, you could
Right.
be playing center, whatever you were playing. But he worked on all the kids equally, and we saw that, right? Like there was no special treatment for his own son. And I think the idea that the kids were free to figure out the plays, right? Figure out
Hmm.
who they should pass to and all of that
Hmm.
made a huge difference, right?
That's
So I
amazing.
think ethical treatment, fair play, all of these things are kind of the indications of a good team, of a strong team.
Hmm.
And I think like this is the lesson I learned. Like it was a soccer game, but it can apply in a family, it can apply in business, it can apply in
Definitely.
government. So that's
Yes.
something that happened many years ago.
I love that story. That's a great story. And it's so true. It's almost like, even in like think about a firm. In any firm, any team, any part in life is that you're the strongest at your weakest link. We all know that. That's the truth. It's a fact. So what you're doing by building up all of those players allowed that team to have success that they likely would not have had, to be totally honest with you. I believe, number one, I believe in the techniques. I believe in training and teaching repetitive movement when you're in sports, and that's something that we do. We call them every days. You're going to do these same drills every single time you come to the game or to the practice or whatever it is, because those are the fundamentals of your job, of your game, whatever you're playing or whatever you're doing in life. And in a
Yep.
firm, it's like you bring in these, we'll call them juniors, because that's what a lot of people call them, right? They come in the first years and they're starting to learn. And the more that the culture of the environment of that firm embraces those newcomers, we call them newcomers in softball,
Right.
newcomers to the game, and put your hand out and pick those guys up, those guys, girls, whatever. You pick
Yep.
them up, you bring them up to as fast and as best as you can and bring them up to that level. And that's what a real successful firm like yours, Arun, because obviously, you're attracting talent because of how you treat people. And that's some of the things people don't realize. It's not only about how much you're paying them, because you
Right.
can pay me
So,
$1 million. When I can give somebody a
so
Friday off and still pay them, I'm winning.
Yeah, yeah. So Don, let me tell you, your what you just said reminded me of something that happened to me in India. So I've been in Canada for about 55 years. So I was just a young kid when I was in India, but I've gone back for trips. So I was meeting someone for the first time. He was a chairman of a large food company in India, manufacturing company. And as I walked into his office, behind him there was like a cork board, and there was a sign that said TGIM, right? So even before I said good morning and started introducing myself, I went to that sign and I said to him, I said, in North America, it's TGIF, it's not TGIM, right?
Right.
Then he went on to explain the sign. He said, we have a program where we develop our people, and the type of corporate culture they're trying to create is that they hope that their employees will be so excited about coming to work that they look forward to Monday. And that blew my mind, right? Can you imagine that kind of culture
Wow.
where you're
Oh,
looking forward to coming to work, right? Isn't that amazing?
that's awesome. See, and Arun, that is such a great story, because if you think about it, it's like if you like imagine, let's just throw out an idea. Like you do something different every Monday morning, and people can't wait to come and find out what's going to happen on Monday morning, and they're excited
Right.
about it. It's kind of like watching a reality show, like what's happening next week. It's like,
Exactly.
okay, I'm going to go. I'm going to find out what's going to be on my desk today, or whatever it may be. And
Exactly.
that's about creating a culture of happiness. Listen, work is called work for a reason. It's not called vacation. It's called work, and we
Right.
all have to do it. Okay, well, we all should do it. I should say it that way.
Of
So
course.
we all have to. So at the end of the day, the one who makes the work environment fun and fulfilling, both
Yep.
from an individual perspective and a professional perspective, when
Yep.
you can do that and be a designated motivator that leads that firm, you got it figured out. And trust me, I just did a keynote on the book last week. I told people, I go, people don't set money goals. Of course we do. We have budgets, and we have budgets, and
Sure.
we do have goals in that capacity. But I don't come to work on Monday morning to make money. I come to work on Monday morning to be around my people, to be around my clients, talk to my clients, and
Oh,
hopefully
sure.
help them survive as
Sure.
well. So
Sure.
I love that. That's
No,
awesome.
I think it's so critical to have that attitude. I actually
Yeah.
taught a course in a university on auditing, and people consider our work to be pretty dull, right? Accounting, auditing, it's all kind of dry
You're
tax and all
right.
of that. So one of the things I started in that class was I said, and there was about maybe 40 students, right? In a BCom class. So I said to them, I said, we'll start this thing where we'll start the class with a joke, right? So they can't be off color jokes. It's got to be like proper
Yeah.
jokes. And I said, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to urge you to do that as well, right? So in other words, we'll start the class by saying, okay, who wants to tell a joke? And if nobody else does, then I will, right? So this class went on for the entire semester, and we did exactly that, right? And this elicited participation. People told us stories, people shared things. One of the young ladies who was in the class actually was a medalist in the Canadian CA exams. Like years later, I saw her picture. I said, oh, I recognize her, right? So that small
Oh,
gesture of adding a little bit of humility, adding a little bit of humor in the middle of
hmm
the auditing class, it generated like a very positive result. And I think you can do this in anything. Like when I'm teaching my courses, people say to me, I came into like a course on internal control, fraud prevention, a course on key performance indicators, whatever it happens to be.
right.
And they say I came in with a view that I'll be bored out of my mind, right? Because they have that label on the subject, right? But
Right.
I try to bring in my real life experiences. We try and share real things. So I
Yeah.
think people can do that, right? If you can think of what is relevant for the other person, how to make it interesting, and
Yes.
that itself is motivation, right? Because you're putting across your content, but you're framing it from their perspective, right? And this
Right.
makes it more effective, right?
That's so fun. So fun. So listen, Arun, this has been a great conversation. You are just a pleasure to even just have a conversation with. I mean, is there anything else you want to leave with the listeners? Anything that you can think of that you want to message and tell us? Just give us a little bit of how they find you, and obviously this is education for Canadian accountants, correct?
Well,
And
actually,
so,
our courses are offered in the US as well, and
oh,
we're
great.
pretty global, yeah. And I've got some things going on in India which are just in early stages.
Oh, fun.
So our environment is very similar, so the courses would be relevant. So just to get back to what I said in the beginning, like my life legacy is to figure out how I can help other CPAs.
hmm
And so what this is like a work in progress. It's not been done yet, but I'm coming up with like a program. It's like a mentorship program.
Oh,
And the
awesome.
idea is that if someone is feeling stuck, like for example, I think our CPA, if you look at the demographics, they're intelligent people, hardworking people, ethical people.
hmm
But I would say if you look at the strengths are on the hard skills, right? Where we
Yeah.
might have weaknesses is on the soft skills, right?
Right.
So I'm looking at all of my years of experience and seeing how the world works. So I'm looking at, how do we empower our members to gain the soft skills and round up the things so that that's not an impediment for their growth. So if again, it's like a work in progress, but
Sure.
some of the ideas we have, we're thinking about going back to your original motivation when you first became a CPA or wanted to become a CPA. What is it that you were trying to accomplish,
hmm
and kind of going back and revisiting that original decision to say,
Right.
are you getting what you wanted to get, and so on.
Yeah.
So um, I hear from many members that they're enjoying their work and all of that, but they think that they want to do more for the community. So
hmm
I've heard from a number of people, for example, they tell me, "Okay, I'm retiring," and I say, "What will you do next?" Invariably, the most common answer I get is people want to do community service. They want to serve the charitable sector, the not-for-profit
hmm
sector,
Yeah.
and this is so nice to hear. So I'm going to talk about how can we do that while we're working, right? You don't have to wait till retirement.
Mm.
The whole idea of collaboration. This is the key thing in my experience. If we learn how to collaborate effectively, we can have much better outcomes. This whole idea of managing people. I mean, we've been talking about it up to now.
Right.
A lot of senior people, a lot of management people in our industry may be very good accountants, but they really have not thought about managing people,
Right.
thinking about the other person. You talk about arranging effective meetings, sort of the strategy, the approach. How do you get to what you want? How do you make your
Right.
meeting worthwhile? We've all attended meetings where you scratch your head and say, why was I asked to come here?
Why do I have to
What did
sit
we
here?
accomplish? Sometimes these meetings go in circles, right? Like you don't
Right.
accomplish anything. Even this whole idea of networking, I've talked to many CPAs, they're unwilling to attend a networking event like a university alumni event,
Right.
even a work related a networking event, a business chamber of commerce type of event. My life experience tells me that the greatest acceleration in my career happened randomly, right? It happened because I met someone in a
hmm
networking event. We hit it off. We met for dinner. and then I left my job and joined them, right? So this
Right.
actually happened to me. It's a very, very powerful way to propel your career, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
think many of our members are thinking that way. So I'm going to talk about that. Public speaking is another area, like it's part of leadership, it's part of communication.
Right.
You know, well, I mean, I don't have to tell you this, but you know, if two people are talking, it's one-to-one communication. You look at Anthony Robbins, right? They fill a room.
Oh
He
yeah.
can address 2,000 people in one go or 10,000 people in one go.
Mm-hmm.
And public speaking is like a multiplier effect, right? Like your communication is being multiplied. I guess it's happening right now because people will listen to you and I. So,
Yep.
so you know, there's a lot of hesitation, not just in our members, but generally it's a human nature. People are scared. People don't want it.
Right.
When I talk to people about public speaking, it's just like selling, right? If you say to a CPA, you have to sell something, they don't want that, right?
Right.
So I want to get them out of that comfort zone
Mm.
and think about the benefits and also how to, right? So I
Right.
guess you could encapsulate all of these things into like emotional intelligence and that type
Mm-hmm.
of field, and then also like career development, career advice, mentoring, even all of the emotional psychological things. I think like I have so many professors, family members, others who just kind of nudged me a little bit. That made my life, right? It was a
Right.
minor little thing. So I hope to be able to do that for the future generations so that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they find joy in the profession, they find fulfillment in their work, they feel that, you know, their life has been worthwhile, they're contributing to
Right.
the community. It's very, very possible, right? So I'd like to remove some of the roadblocks that are preventing people from
Right.
reaching that joy, you know? So
Yeah.
maybe towards
Absolutely.
the end of the year we might have our program done, you know?
Well, and we'll have you back. We'll have you back once
Okay.
you get that wrapped
Okay.
up. Just reach back out. We'll get you because I'd love to hear, how did it
Yeah,
go? What's, what are we looking for? And certainly
for
we'll
sure.
link to you guys in the bottom section of the podcast. People will be able to link to you and see the
For
great
sure.
work that you're doing. And
Yeah.
I just want to
So
thank
the,
you
the,
so
the other
much for
thing I
that.
should just say, Don, sorry
Yeah.
to interrupt
No,
you. The other thing I
no, you're
just
fine.
wanted to add, one of the things I've learned in my life is that when you fail, you have to get up and go, right? You can't fail and just stop, right?
You can't.
And you know, very often people have a very negative view of failure. Like we want to prevent failure, we want to avoid failure. You know, when you look at any kind of business success, we're always talking in a very positive tone. You know, you could become chairman of General Motors and all of that,
Right.
but between the zero and there's a lot of failure, a lot of hardship, and I think we don't really hear that. So I'm very happy to tell you that, having gone through this kind of thing
Yeah.
myself, that I'd like to communicate that, right? The idea that we
Yes.
should have a positive attitude towards failure, we should learn from failure,
Mm-hmm.
and really it's kind of counterintuitive maybe, but this is how the world works, right? We fail and we
Yeah.
have to get up and start again and keep going at it. Persistence is important, hard work is
Right.
important, right? Yeah.
I love that because really at the end of the day, you're right. Number one, when you're successful, I find for myself, like when I have a successful IRS representation case and I'm able to, take care of whatever the situation may have been for that client, that gives me
Right.
confidence. So for me, is it positive? Of course it is. I get excited. I'm fired up. I'm like, took care of this person. This is my job. I'm doing it well. But when I
Right.
failed, and I failed many times and for many different reasons, whether it was how I handled a staff member, how I handled a client situation, whatever that may be, that's when I actually learned. I didn't
Well,
learn
exactly.
from success, I learned from the failures for sure.
That's so true. So true. And I have a lot of ideas. Like, you know, I have ideas about relationship building. I have ideas on these types of things because what I've learned is, you know, if you can create positive relationships, that can prevent a lot of headaches. If we have
Absolutely.
like a ethical kind of behavior towards the people we work with,
Hmm.
that creates a really good relationship. It creates high trust. So
Right.
you're kind of you're putting yourself into a platform where you can springboard from that. And
Hmm.
a lot of people are looking for quick returns and quick gains, but long term, if you take an ethical approach, you build good relationships, high trust relationships, just like they
Right.
did with the soccer
Hmm.
team, right? Like that
Oh
sets you
yeah.
up for a win, and that's like a sustainable win, right? Because you are doing positive things is going to create a positive result, right?
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
so I have lots of ideas, but we're hoping to put that into a program, into a very step by step type of thing,
That's
and then
awesome.
we'll go global with that. Hopefully, it'll help a lot of members.
And that's what it's all about, and that's one of the reasons why I started the podcast. I'm just like, can we get the message out? Can people hear this, successes and failures over and over again, and really just like try to take it in on themselves and look inward towards themselves and what they can maybe do, change, those kind of things to make their lives better, but also the people around them, which is what's important, right? So
This is such an
Arun,
important message.
you've been fantastic. Arun Mathur with UltimQuest, and we're going to UltimQuest. I kept going to say Ultra.
That's right.
I don't know why, but UltimQuest, and we're excited to have you back. Once that program gets launched, let's help you launch it. Again, thanks again, everybody, for listening to the DM Disruption. We'll see you next time. Same place, same time. Look forward to talking to you. Everyone, take care.
Thank you very much. Nice seeing you.
Or you too, Arun. Thanks again.